Welcome, everyone, to the smart world around us, organized by Smart-EDU Hub. Today, we're taking a deep dive into an article that really makes you think. It's called Electric Vehicles Optimism versus the Energy Market Reality by Catalin Vrabie. And just so you know, if you want to read it yourself, the link's right there in the description below. Okay, let's unpack this. If we're seriously talking about a full shift, everyone driving electric cars, what does that actually mean for our energy market and, well, the environment?
That's exactly the core question. The author, Catalin Vrabie, tackles. Can the market really handle it if we all switch? The numbers he presents are pretty eye-opening. Just think about the EU's road transport. It used something like 251 million tons of oil back in 2019.
Oh, wow. That's hard to even picture. So how much electricity would replace that?
Well, the article is quite generous, actually. It assumes EVs are 4 times more efficient. But even then, replacing that oil means finding an extra 671,786 gigawatt hours of electricity every single year.
Now, 671,000 gigawatt. How much is that in real terms?
Okay, think of it like this. A really big nuclear power plant might make, say, 8 or 10 gigawatt hours a day. So you're talking about needing hundreds, literally hundreds, of new large power plants. That's somewhere between a 17% and 24% increase on top of all the electricity the EU currently generates. What's fascinating here is just the sheer scale. It makes you ask, can we really generate that much more? Especially, cleanly. The article suggests it's maybe not as simple as flipping a switch.
Right. So, okay, huge energy demand. But what about the big promises? The carbon savings, the idea that EVs are, financially the smart way forward.
Yeah, the article looks at that too, and it's a bit more complicated. The net carbon reduction, even if we manage this whole shift, it comes out at only about 4 to 4.5% of total EU emissions.
Only 4%. Why so low? I thought the whole point was zero tailpipe emissions.
True, but you have to generate all that extra electricity somehow. And even if it's cleaner, producing that much more power has its own carbon footprint, which kind of eats into the savings. And then there's the cost. The estimate for a gradual full shift, around 973 billion euros.
973 billion. Wow, that's nearly €1 trillion. Just for the cars?
Primarily, yes. It breaks down to a marginal cost of about 10,000 euros for each EV replacing an older car. It adds up incredibly fast. But here's the kicker. That works out to roughly 822 euros per ton of carbon avoided.
822 euros. How does that compare?
Well, standard carbon capture methods, they usually cost somewhere between 39 and 78 euros per ton. So based on these numbers, EVs look like a really, really expensive way to cut carbon. Makes you think, doesn't it? Are we focusing maybe too much on this one solution?
Okay, so that's the big EU picture, but you mentioned a specific country study, Romania. What does that tell us?
Yeah, Romania is interesting because it's actually energy self-sufficient. It produces like 124% of its own electricity needs. You'd think they'd be well-placed, right?
You would, yeah.
But the calculation shows that just electrifying all the private cars in Romania would need over 30% more electricity than the entire country produces right now.
30% more. Even though they already make extra.
Exactly. They'd basically have to triple their renewable energy output just to cover the cars. And the point is, if even an energy-independent country faces that kind of challenge, what does it mean for everyone else trying to do this quickly?
It really highlights the scale, doesn't it? So moving beyond the big numbers, what about the day-to-day stuff, the practical things stopping people from buying EVs right now?
Ah, yes, the practical barriers. The article points out several key ones. Vehicle range is still a big one. The average is maybe 250 kilometers now, but the author argues you really need closer to 500 kilometers for people to feel comfortable ditching petrol cars completely.
Right, range anxiety is definitely a thing.
Definitely. Then there's the charging infrastructure. It's not just about having enough chargers, but they're not standardized everywhere, which is a real pain for longer journeys. Plus, the upfront cost of buying an EV is still high for many people. And batteries. That's a whole cluster of issues. Limited lifespan, the huge cost, sometimes half the car's price. And then what do you do with them at the end? Disposal is tricky.
And safety too, right? You hear about battery fire sometimes.
Yeah, the flammable electrolytes in many current lithium batteries are a concern that needs ongoing attention and development.
So reading between the lines, it sounds like the article is suggesting that maybe the whole Tesla effect, the excitement around EVs, might be a bit more fashion than fundamental solution.
Right.
What's the alternative vision then?
That's a good way to put it. The conclusion isn't anti-EV, but it argues for a much broader strategy to hit zero emissions by 2050. It needs to be truly green, involving things like hydrogen, especially for long-haul trucks and travel. Nuclear power has to be part of the mix. and EVs. They fit best, perhaps, for urban driving, shorter trips. So yeah, the optimism is great. It drives innovation, but it needs grounding in the energy market reality. The vision needs to be more diverse, more holistic, perhaps. It makes you wonder, are we maybe putting all our focus in one area when we need a wider approach?
That definitely gives us a lot to think about. Thank you so much for walking us through that. And thank you all for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope it offered some fresh perspectives on the electric vehicle story. If you found this useful, please do like and subscribe to the Smart-EDU Hub channel. That way you won't miss our future deep dives. And don't forget that link to the original article, Electric Vehicles Optimism versus the Energy Market Reality, is down there in the description. Until next time, keep digging deeper.